So, with that, we continue in English with SAP Transportation Management at Steelcase, the largest office manufacturer, furniture manufacturer in the world. And we will see that Steelcase uses quite a lot of functionality of SAP TM, including inbound, outbound, intercompany, vehicle scheduling and routing, and also carrier tendering and collaboration portal. So without further ado, I want to introduce on stage Ms. Nancy Hill, a global logistics IT expert.
Do you have the
Thank you very much.
thing?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Good enough. I got it. All right. Hi, how are you? I don't know any German, so I apologize. I'll be in English. I'm representing Steelcase. We are just finishing our North America implementation for our phase 1. Steelcase, we don't save lives like Roche does, but we do want to improve your lives at work. Our mission is to create great experiences wherever work happens. We are the global office furniture industry leader. If you work in an office, there's a good chance you might have sat in one of our chairs or, seen some of our panels around. Our FY16 revenue, which ended last February, was $3.1 billion US. Steelcase focuses on user-centered, research-led, insight-driven design principles to design and manufacture office solutions, interior architecture, and technology solutions to support the way that we all work in a variety of work environments. Our product is 100% make to order. We do not manufacture something until you order it because we don't know what color you're going to want it. If you are ordering a desk, we don't know how wide or how deep you want it. We don't know if you want your chair with a headrest or with arms or with different casters. We don't know what fabric you want. So until you order it, we don't make it. All right? So we're 100% make to order, engineer to order. If we don't make a table in the exact size that you want it, we will custom design it for you, custom spec it. We are highly configurable with variable options. I already mentioned colors, fabrics, sizes, things like that. So a lot of different finishes, dimensions, options. If you put all those options in all different SKU numbers, which we don't, we use parametrics, we could total nearly 42 something SKU numbers. That's a big number, all right? All right. We do maintain a broad global footprint. We have 29 work-life centers around the globe. A work-life center is kind of like a mini showroom. It's also where some of our salespeople can come and have a home base. We have 15 manufacturing facilities around the world. This is, I don't know if it's showing, yeah, I guess it's there. 7 business centers. Business center is kind of, that's where most of our office, back office type stuff happens. I happen to work in the business center in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in the US. We have 2 learning and innovation centers, so we do a lot of our research and development at these centers, training for our dealers, our salespeople. One of them is in Grand Rapids. One of them just opened about a month ago in Munich. So we have that new center. We have 8 distribution centers around the world, and we have 800 dealer partners. So we sell our furniture through a dealer network similar to the way a car company might sell through dealer networks. Okay? We serve organizations all over the globe, and through all different industries. Financial, government, education, healthcare, technology, retail, automotive, food and beverage, home office, and anything else you can think of. We had an order not too long ago going to the NBA in New York. We've served the United Nations. We've served all kinds of customers around the globe. These are just some of the ones that chose to show up here. Since I'm talking about logistics, our logistics organization is responsible for planning and moving all of our parts, materials, and goods around the globe. We move inbound raw parts and finished goods from our suppliers. We move intercompany parts, packing materials, work in progress, and finished goods between our plants and our distribution centers, both within and across regions. So we'll have plants in the US that ship products back and forth, and we'll ship plants from the US over to Europe, Asia, India, so forth, and then we'll send parts and products back to the US as well. We also ship outbound finished goods to our dealer warehouses and our customer sites. Our global transportation spend is about 150 million US dollars per year. In North America, that's about 100 million, so vast majority of it is in North America. In North America, that's spread over 80 plus carriers. Our carrier base is a blend of private carrier, so owned carrier, dedicated contract, and common carrier. We drive 50 plus million miles a year and move a lot of packages every year as well. All right. Due to our industry and our business model, we had a lot of unique delivery requirements to meet. So I mentioned we ship to both our job sites and our dealer warehouses. Think of a job site like a house being built. If you've ever built a house, you know that things are very time critical, and things have to be delivered and installed in a certain order. You can't put in your carpet until you've built the foundation, so things have to be in order. When it comes to furniture, our customers don't want their furniture until the carpet's down, until the electrical's in, and all this other stuff is in place. They also have install crews waiting, and oftentimes in a big city environment such as New York, we have elevator appointments, and so those deliveries can be very time critical, especially if I have an installation crew waiting or these elevator appointments. Our job sites often have other specific requirements as well. Some job sites are in older buildings and maybe can't take a large trailer. They can only take smaller trailers. Some of them have mode restrictions. I can't ship LTL or I can't ship parcel. I can only have full truckload. Or sometimes it's the reverse. I can only take LTL or parcel. If I'm delivering to your house, I probably can't show up to your house in a big 53-foot trailer. It's not going to go down a neighborhood street very well. So, some customers have lift gate and ramp requirements for delivery service. There's a lot of sites in the US, a lot of trailers have these new trailer skirts that help with aerodynamics. Well, if I'm going into a site that has kind of a angle that's not going to fit that trailer skirt, sometimes we have to have trailers without the skirts. Some of our sites, especially like our government sites, require US citizens or security cleared drivers. Some of them need union drivers, so sometimes we'll have driver requirements. We typically don't ship our product palletized, but sometimes we have customers that require that, so that's sometimes a requirement. How we load the trailers, if I'm only getting one load of one trailer of furniture, the customer wants their panels first, they want their desktops next, and they want their chairs at the very end. So they want the chairs loaded in the nose of the trailer, because otherwise they're going to unload chairs and not have anything to do with them until they get the rest of the stuff off the truck and installed. And sometimes we need an extra driver for unload assistance or expedited delivery and whatnot. Our dealer warehouses, so if I'm not going to a job site, I might deliver to a dealer warehouse instead. And the dealer warehouse deliveries we have a lot more flexibility with and fewer requirements. So those deliveries we use to kind of fill in the gaps, so to speak. All right. We do perform at 99% on-time delivery for all stops. So we are pretty proud of that delivery record. Don't try to read this. This goes back about 4 years. This was kind of like the start of our TM project. Our leaders wanted to know what keeps us from operating at the lowest total cost. And some of our leaders are really good at this. It's called a root cause diagram. And what they do is they start asking questions. Why? 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 And so what keeps us from operating at the lowest total cost? Well, some of the first whys were we don't fill trucks. We're driving too many miles. We don't pick the right carriers. Well, then we asked, well, why don't we fill trucks? Why are we driving too many miles? Why don't we pick the right carriers? And all these whys come back, and you'll see the last ones kind of come back to this project A3s on the right-hand side, kind of all funnel back to a number of different projects that were on our plate or that we felt we needed to take on. And what it all boiled down to is it kind of boiled down to the fact that maybe we needed to invest in some new software that can help us get what we wanted to get. Okay? And so we looked at a number of different companies, we looked at a number of different software solutions, and eventually we did finalize on SAP TM for a couple different reasons. So kind of as a result of that root cause diagram, we ended up with a lot of different requirements that we were trying to meet. We wanted to obviously optimize our routings, load plans, and carrier selection. That came out of the root cause. We also wanted to standardize our logistics processes, data, and reporting across the globe. We wanted visibility to our moves across the globe. Steelcase North America, Steelcase Europe, and Steelcase Asia have 3 different ERP systems. We wanted our solution to integrate with all 3. We needed to support and connect all of our locations around the globe, and so that was a key reason why we picked SAP TM as well. In North America, we had an outsourced 3PL provider that was providing all of our planning, tendering, and freight payment for us. We wanted to eliminate our outsourced 3PL. We wanted to eliminate outdated bolt-on software that our European team was using. And we wanted to provide a platform for Asia Pacific. Believe it or not, our Asia Pacific office they still are right now because we haven't worked on them yet. Kind of working more out of Excel spreadsheets and whatnot, so they're really far behind. In North America, we really wanted to connect various move types, which is difficult with what we had in place. Basically, we kind of came up with this tagline, freight is freight. We wanted to be able to plan inbound with outbound and with intercompany. If I had a supplier that was by one of my distribution centers and I could deliver to a distribution center and pick up at a supplier and bring it back to the plant, I wanted to be able to connect those moves, okay? So when implementing, we had only a couple of rules that kind of guided us through our project. Keep it standard. Any potential mods to the software had to be approved by our steering committee. And we managed to keep that goal pretty well throughout the project. I think we only ended up with like 2 mods at the end of our project. We were able to solve most of what we needed to solve with either baddies, basically standard user exits, or configuration. So that was good. The other thing was keep it global. We wanted our processes and functionality to be the same around the globe. And this is proving to be a little bit more difficult than we had anticipated. We are stabilizing our North America rollout. We are just kind of starting and kicking off our Europe project, and we're finding that their processes and the ERP developments that they have made could be significantly different than what we had done. And so that will be a challenge to keep it global. But we are going to stick to this principle and keep it as global as we can. All right? From a project management perspective, we utilized Scrum methodology. We had a couple guiding principles. Basically, we had one team of business IT and our consulting group. Our team really worked together well. In fact, this team worked together so well that it has become a point of reference for all new projects going forward at Steelcase. Basically, it wasn't business and IT and Novigo. It was the TM project team, and worked very well together. Kind of mentioned the think global, keep it global, but act local. We knew going in, even though our guiding principle was to keep it global, we know that there's going to be local variations. We're trying to keep those to a minimum, but we know that they're going to be there. Change the business, not the software. So this kind of boils down to that keep it standard guiding principle. Hindsight's 2020, and as a company, we have customized our ERP solution quite a bit. We've learned that maybe customization isn't the best way to go, and so we really wanted to keep TM standard. And also, maybe we weren't using the best business practice. So if we had a situation where the software didn't align with our business practice, we asked ourselves why didn't it align, and maybe we should think about changing our process rather than change the software, because maybe the software was developed around best practices, and we had to rethink our practices. And sometimes we were able to adapt, sometimes we couldn't, and we really had to we had to get creative in how we solve that. And like I said, either config or baddies or whatnot, and we were able to do that. Scrum, Agile Method, basically design, build, test, review, kind of a quick cycle sessions there. If you find something that didn't work, you could fix it early in the project rather than wait to the end and if it was delivered at the end. We had daily reviews. We had sprint reviews. We had a sprint lasted roughly 3 to 4 weeks. At the end of every sprint, we had a review with leaders and other key stakeholders. And any approvals had to go through our steering committee, like I mentioned earlier, too. Our team structure consisted of a global steering team, which was really our leaders and our core team. Our core team consisted of a couple key business users, a couple key IT folks, and then our leaders as well. Local steering team, if it's North America based, if it's really a North American problem, maybe we go to the local steering team rather than the global steering team because it's not going to affect the global project. We had a program project management team. So when I talk about the program, so the TM implementation was really just a project under the TM program that we had at Steelcase. The program consisted of a couple different projects that would support TM. We had to improve some key master data, such as our customer database and our weights and cube database. And so there were a couple other projects like that supported TM that were under the program structure. So we had one project manager that was driving the program and basically drove the TM as well as the customer database and the weight and cube project. And then we had the Scrum project management team, which was really about the day-to-day aspect of the project. We did have some challenges, what implementation doesn't. One of the first challenges we had very early in the game was we did not have an environment available for development. Our dev environment was in use at the time for another project, so we couldn't have that. So instead, we utilized a cloud-based environment offered by SAP, the HANA Enterprise Cloud System, until our dev environment was available. So it was a resource we were able to use from SAP. One of the biggest challenges we had was we were under NDA. Because of our 3PL that I mentioned earlier, we could not risk our 3PL finding out what we were doing and pulling their business from us. Because we weren't ready for that yet. So we had to define our requirements and plan for transition without user awareness of what was going on. It's very challenging. We pulled in a couple key users to make sure we had all of our bases covered, but that was challenging. In the end, we made it work, but that was probably one of our biggest challenges, was the NDA. We have a lot of complexity in our business. Because we're delivering to job sites, we have time specific, we have a lot of different customer requirements, and we had a legacy of business processes that maybe hadn't been updated in 20 or 30 years, and so maybe we needed to challenge some of those. But we challenged our processes, and we, like I mentioned earlier on the root cause, but also through the entire project, we asked why? If we interviewed somebody and asked how you did a process, and they gave us one story, we would ask, okay, why do you do that? Why do you do that? And sometimes the answer was, well, that's because I've always done it, and that's because how somebody trained me. we had a number of scenarios where we asked why probably 5 to 10 times to get to the real reason why they did something. And sometimes we scratched processes altogether. We said, nobody knows why we're doing it, stop doing it. And so, that was interesting to learn about all these processes. We challenged our leaders. When it came to the keep it global, keep it standard, sometimes we came to a process that, you know what, if we keep it standard, it's going to mean this. Otherwise, if we need to do this, it'd be easier on the users to do this, but it's not going to keep it standard. We would challenge our leaders. What do you want us to do? And our leaders stuck with our guiding principle, keep it standard. Even though it might have meant a little bit of a more struggle with the daily process, keep it standard. That was one of our guiding principles. So, and we challenged our Novigo team. I think every day we challenge them with some of our processes. What do you mean we can't do that? Well, we have to do this. This is one of those processes we really couldn't change. We really did understand, and we needed to do this. So we challenged them, and there were a couple nights I remember going home, and we had our project room, and we had some really heated arguments in the project room about what we could and couldn't do. And our team went home, and the next morning they came back and they had solved our problem. And so that happened about 3 or 4 times, and I quit worrying about whether they could or couldn't solve it anymore because we were good. So we had a really strong team. I kind of mentioned that earlier, but we performed as one unified team at all levels. The Novigo team met our challenges and helped us learn how TM could work for us. We're using a lot of TM functionality. When we replaced our 3PL did planning, tendering, freight payment, settlement, and reporting. Because we were eliminating them, we basically had to be able to take on everything at once, which was a challenge. But we're doing inbound, outbound, intercompany. When I say intercompany, it's not like STOs, if you guys are familiar with STOs. We actually, some of our moves between our plants and our distribution centers, we're actually using a forwarding order for those because we don't support those moves in ERP for everything. But we're integrating with ERP for purchase orders, sales orders, the deliveries, and the shipments. And we're also using forwarding orders, like I mentioned, for non-ERP supported moves. We're using basic optimizer, vehicle scheduling and routing. We're doing full truckload, LTL, parcel, air. When I say air and parcel, we're not actually integrating with those systems. It's just making kind of like a mode determination based on cost. Carrier selection and tendering. Carrier selection, I think we're using every carrier selection technique available to us with TM. So transportation allocations, business shares, schedules, and cost and priority in some way, shape, or form. We're using all of them. Tendering, we're using email and the carrier collaboration portal for now. Our goal is to get our carriers that want to up and some sort of a interface as soon as possible. I mentioned the carrier collaboration portal and cost distribution and freight settlement. We are taking a phased approach to implementation. When we started talking about TM with different people in the company, there was a lot of people that wanted to, oh, can we do this? Oh, can we do that? I want to be able to do that. The answer is, to a lot of their questions was, yeah, we can, but phase 1 for North America was eliminate our 3PL. That was our scope, that was it. All the things that everybody else wanted to do, sorry, we have to eliminate our 3PL, and once we get that done, then we'll start thinking about what we do next, okay? Otherwise, the scope creep just made the project insurmountable. 1B, basically our Europe operations. We kicked that off in June. We took a couple-month hiatus here in August and September because we were still having some implementation issues in North America, and we needed to take a couple extra months just to get North America stable. Those 2 months proved to be really well worth taking because it's now stabilized quite a bit. We had some assistance. I saw Tobias up there from some folks at SAP to help us with some stuff as well. So now, just last week, our Europe team kicked off again. And their goal for their phase 1 is to replace the outdated bolt-on software. Basically, that supports their planning. And then also, they're going to do tendering and settlement. So actually, a little bit more than what they're doing with their software today. Phase 1.5 in North America is what we're calling it. Really is that carrier connectivity for those that want it, whether it's EDI, XML, web services, however the carriers want to connect. We'll work on that. We started on that about a month or two ago. We've got a number of our LTL carriers connected. We're working on some of our FTL carriers next. And then improved reporting. Sad to say, when it came to getting TM rolled out, reporting kind of fell to the bottom of the priority list, unfortunately. But now our procurement and our finance teams are screaming, we need reporting. So that's 1.5. Phase 2 is really to be determined at this point. We had a big, long laundry list of things that we wanted to do. We have to narrow that down. This is probably going to be a number of phases throughout this project. A couple of the things that we might look at for phase 2 really might be ocean bookings, maybe VSO, continuous moves. I talked about taking a load out and bringing something back on the same carrier. We want to be able to do continuous moves. We'd love to be able to do FedEx integration. We haven't done that yet, but we think it could really do us some good. Sales order scheduling, maybe. Warehouse management integration with TM. Not quite sure how we'll do that yet, but that's something that we really want to be able to do as well. Those are just a couple of the roadmap items. Like I said, we have a whole laundry list. Our leaders are looking at that list and where they want to go next. And mine went a lot faster. But still, okay, our tagline, love how you work. So, any questions? Thank you.
Nancy, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Stay on stage. Maybe there are some questions, either to you or your colleague. Anyone? Yeah, please.
Sorry. What is the main reason for this unstable state?
For the unstable state?
Yes, that you mentioned that now you're working together with SAP and... Sorry, that you're checking together with SAP regarding this phase that you want to stabilize a few things. For me, it would be interesting to know in which area, which elements with objects.
Probably our biggest area the biggest area we had issues with was really probably with our integration. Like I mentioned, our ERP is highly customized. And so it was the integration really of the freight order back to the ERP shipment and some of the communication with the deliveries and it was that piece that caused us some headache and caused our warehouse, therefore, some issues. So.
Is this on?
Over there.
Hello? Yeah. One question concerning the collaboration portal, and at the end you mentioned that on the roadmap you put carrier connectivity via XML and EDI and so on. So how is this versus, you have implemented collaboration portal for the carriers or not? Or?
The carrier collaboration portal was really, it's good for the carriers that don't do a lot of traffic for us. But the carrier collaboration portal requires that the carriers actually log in, report events for every freight order independently, and it's very time consuming for them. If we can connect to their systems and they can only then report in their system and then just feed it to us, it's especially for those carriers that do a lot of business with us, it's a lot more, lot faster and better for them, much more efficient.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Why do you have to implement the shipment integration?
Because our warehouse operates off of a shipment, and we weren't ready to change our warehouse yet. Eventually, we want to get rid of the shipment, but it wasn't part of the solution right now. That might be phase 2.
You can also ask your question in German and we translate, so no
Sorry.
worries about that. No worries.
Hi. In terms of user acceptance for moving from the legacy world into the TM system, have you faced any challenges? Because TM requires a lot of end-user training upfront, and sometimes it's not the most friendly system to navigate into.
I'll be honest. User training, user acceptance has been a little bit of a challenge. We have a range of users. We have some users that have been at Steelcase 20 years and have used all of the legacy systems in the past. And we also had some brand new employees that have never used a legacy system at Steelcase. And so what we've found is the people that have been there years had the Steelcase experience, but they don't love the TM technology. On the flip side, the people that were brand new to Steelcase are okay with the technology, but they don't have the experience. And so what we did was we paired them up together. We paired a user that had been there a long time with a new user, and then they could learn from each other. The newer person tended to pick up on the TM technology quicker and easier than the person that had been there for years. So I won't say it wasn't a challenge, but that's kind of how we worked through that, was pairing I'm not saying old person, but a person that had been there a while with somebody that was new to the company.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got two questions that are linked to each other. At first, did you have a business case, a monetary business case in advance of the project? And the second, in retrospective, do you have monetary savings that you can measure?
We did have a business case. I don't have that with me, but there was a business case presented to executive leadership. Obviously, we needed to get the money to do this. We are still stabilizing. I can't speak to savings yet, but I believe that they're there. But I was asked not to mention that yet because we're still stabilizing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any more questions, final questions?
Perhaps one question relying to the business case. So one motivation is to replace the 3PL or the freight forwarder. Did you replace the freight forwarder already?
We replaced the 3PL, yeah. We started our implementation in February of this year. We phased it in. We started with our inbound. We did a couple suppliers, and then we did a couple of our distribution centers. And we kind of kept that pace. We were fully implemented at the end of June. And as of July 1, our contract with our 3PL then was complete. And we're no longer doing business with them. So they're done. Mm-hmm. Savings from no 3PL, yes.
All right, no more questions? Yeah, with that, thanks again also for jumping in on such a short notice. Thanks to Novigo for bringing you in.